I'm here to help you with whatever you need, okay?
Okay. All right. So I think should we wait one more minute? I usually start like nine, like always 2 minutes after you guys on realtor time.
Good
Sure.
morning.
While we wait, I want to remind everybody of our holiday party on December 2nd. A lot of you did not register. I know you guys may want to wait till the last minute, but please, please, please register. If you don't have the link, let us know. We would love for you guys to be there. It's at the Hanover Manor in East Hanover, New Jersey. We
It's
tried
too
to do our
far.
best. I know we had to pick one that's kind of like central between all the other offices, which we have like 24. So it is going to be a drive unless you're in Morris County, obviously that's closer, but everyone else is driving 45 minutes to 1 hour. But it's once a year. It's not like it happens all the time. We go to Atlantic City for one night too. So this is if you want to spend time with us, it's worth the drive. It's going to be a lot of fun. We had a lot. If you were there last year, you know how much fun we had. And this year, it's only going to be better because we have a lot of new agents and new leadership. So if you are planning, it's worth it to come once. We don't have.
Definitely worth it. Please come. It's so much fun. Unbelievable. We'll probably have some surprises, which I don't know anything about, to be honest with you, but just saying.
I don't know either. Now, like the pressure is on. I'm like, oh my
Pressure's
God,
on.
She's like, what surprise?
let me get to work.
Dancing on tables, maybe?
Ezekiel, you'll be the first one.
You and
You
Rob.
start, you start the party with
I'm
Rob.
shy. I'm shy.
It'll
All
be a
right.
lot of fun. And then triple play is the week after. I want to let you guys know that Remax is not having a party this year. But if you are attending, reach out to your manager because we will probably have a dinner. So make sure you let them know that if you are coming, we want to make sure you're part of the dinner. That's it. Mary, the show is yours.
Okay, so let me share my screen now.
Mary, that's a beautiful name.
Thank you. Very plain, but all right. Perfect. So, welcome to our Tuesday Mastermind. Today, we're going to talk about the buyer's presentation. You can never get used to like the Zoom, it kind of covers. All right. So, why it's important. Okay. I think we all kind of know why it's important. It really establishes you as the expert. And I have to tell you that most of you guys, when you get a listing, you're like on it. You want to do the listing presentation. You have something that you have already. You have a folder. You're ready when you're getting a listing. But it's really the same concept when you're doing the buyer presentation. But many times we forget that we really need to take time to consult with our buyer and just establish, the process as well. And it makes you the expert and the leader, and you're kind of driving that, although you are listening to your clients, right? But it educates them, and you are the expert, the leader, the educator, right? And you're building trust. And that's going to be important because later on you'll see, what we do and what's going to differentiate us, but it also clarifies, what kind of commitment that they are doing. Because a lot of these um, buyers that are signing these buyers agreement, they're not understanding that. And I think we're really doing, as agents, we're not really doing a great job in explaining it because we're also in a rush. So I've done it too. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is an agreement. Now it's the new law and blah, 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 and sign, sign, sign. And you have to actually really clarify and explain to them why we are having this form, and it really is for transparency and for their protection. And it's also a marketing tool for you. It's a way to kind of establish, like, some of your success stories and some of your experience, that, you can share stories. And also, it really is that connection and why you are a little bit different from the rest of the competition. Because a lot of agents, even maybe on this people on the call here, are not really doing these presentation. We have offices everywhere. You can call them and say, I'm a Remax Select agent from, and I'm meeting a client in your area. May I reserve a conference room? And you can meet your clients and do a presentation. And we have a tool for that. The lead conversion to being a client is very low in real estate, as we all know. Sometimes they go here, sometimes they use this agent. So again, it really is a way to differentiate yourself, to make sure that you are establishing yourself as the educator. Today, we're going to learn about the three types of buyer presentation. As you know, I went over the seller's presentation, and it's only really one kind. But with buyers, we have three different kinds, and I'm going to show you the difference with each one. And it's actually very, very cool when you're going to use some of that stuff. And I usually use the win the representation. It's very quick. There's no CMA, there's nothing, that you do, and you just have some slides, and it's a good slide to give because it explains things about compensation, representation, things that maybe you don't want to talk about, but or you don't know how to explain it, but there's a diagram, right? And the buyer's tour is wonderful because it kind of lists out all the properties that either you will show or you've shown. I always like to do it afterwards, and also it kind of keep track of some of the properties you've shown. Remember when we have the buyer's representation and you've worked with them and you showed like 15 properties, and then they all of a sudden say, well, I'm not gonna work with you anymore, and they're gonna go use another. But with the 15 properties we've shown, they are bound by that agreement. And this is a really nice way to show them that you showed that property. And I'm going to show you that because there's actually a feedback feature that's awesome. And then when the offer is actually when you have a property that I think your client is very interested in putting in the offer in, and you want to give them a CMA, and it's very much like the listing presentation. So if you are pretty familiar with the listing presentation, that one you'll get it right away. So those are the three types that we're going to go over today. So now we're at the Bold Trail section, and I always go right here where the marketing section is on your left, okay? And you're going to go into present, okay, which is for the presentations. So we're going to stick with the first one that really I feel like is one of, the easiest one. So this is the win the presentation. It's the first one, so I'm just going to start it. And it doesn't even really give you you don't even have a property. This is like when you're first meeting with them. And actually, when, you get a lead, sometimes this is kind of what I send them to. And I've had people open up. And so let me just do this right here. And there's a pencil mark, and you can just do it for that person's name. This is my maiden name. So I have myself as a contact, and you do apply. Okay. And then you just do either buyer's presentation, or you can just do something more like, interesting, so they kind of understand it. Presentation seems so stiff, but you can do like what you need to know, okay? Or for first-time buyers, okay? What I want to share with you, something like that you can do, and you just apply.
Mary, can I use another word, which is actually, I call it buyer seminars.
Yes, yes, right? That seems so. And then when you meet with them, it's like, oh, we're going to start the seminar. Okay. And again, leading with the, expertise, right?
Yeah.
So very similar with all the present platform. You go here and you'll see that this one's already done for you, and the purpose and importance of buyer agent, right? So instead of saying, hey, I'm going to do this for you, and it really frames it out in a really nice picture. Again, you're not recreating something like, oh, I got to come up with the words and I have to come up with, it's already there for you, right? And then we're going to always go into this, add the slide. And I love this one. It's the buyer agent compensation and the home buying process. So anytime it's grayed out, that means it's going to go into that presentation. And you can put this in. I don't feel like they need to know where, the buyers are coming from. And then I just do the select the slide. when you do add the slides, just know that all of the slides are there. So sometimes you will see like seller slides. So just be careful. And that's why I feel like you need the time to look over it, because you also have to know, like, do you know what you're going to say here? You know? So this is the home buying, process, very simplified. You're going to establish a budget. Let's, talk about the wish list. And these are all things that you are going to go over in that presentation. And more you have, Rob always says, if you're the one in control, the person who's asking the question is the one in control. You are asking these questions. These are just frameworks for you to look at and to know, like, oh, okay, these are some of the questions. And then you're going to start writing them down and think about how that, really does impress the people, because you're actually listening to what their thoughts are. And it's a way to kind of talk to them and saying, oh, okay, this is how it's going to happen. I'm going to send you some lists. I'm going to put you on, an automatic, listing, and we'll have a talk about that. You can change it. And also about compensation. You're always going to say it's negotiable, right? And what you're also going to write on the buyer's agreement. Sometimes the seller agrees to pay the broker, the buyer's broker. And if they don't, we'll put it inside the contract, or we'll combine it with the offer, or, but this is what I get paid. So these are all, slides that you can kind of talk to the clients about, because it's important, right? And why I'm the right fit. And this is why you're going to choose me, because I have local market knowledge. I am very client centered. Again, so all of these things that you want to say, and you kind of want, it's already there, and you're kind of going to brush upon it and ask them if they have any questions. These are what, and anything that you want to concentrate on, it's right there. And then, of course, it goes to you. It's your page. It has your information. So that's how you're going to end it. All right. And it always goes back to present and share. And you can save your client, and if they are already in your CRM, and this is why it's important to use your CRM, because you are actually, and I kind of shared it with the listing presentation, they get, when they open it, you see it, so let's say I did it for Mary Park, right? So I go here and she comes up because it's part of my CRM. Okay, and then add. And then you can preview it, you can email it, and send it to them. You can also, if you feel like, there's this link here, you can copy the link and then put it on whatever office computer that you have the big screen on. You can do that, and could always take a look at it. So any question on that?
These are
Perfect.
for Bold Trail leads. What about the Zillow leads?
If you have Zillow leads, and I think Zillow leads sometimes they do go into the bold trap, but you can manually put them in. So you see how, like, you go here, edit. If you don't have them in and they came in, and I put them in. I say I don't put their name, first name, last name, and email,
Okay.
and then you add them. And by adding them here, and you send it to them, that's great. But you also now have added them into your CRM.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, so I'm going back to the present home, and we'll go to do the buyer tour. So the buyer tour is, again, it's, some people like to say, okay, these are the properties that we're going to see tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow. Or I always like to say, these are the properties that we're going to see. And then afterwards, when I get home or the next day, these are the homes that we saw. So they have a closer look at what they saw. So I got MLS numbers, 261, and then you do comma. I don't think you need to do a space. So 25035961, comma. We saw 4 properties, so that's what I'm going to put. 7645, comma, 25037758. And then you use this little arrow right here and you click on that. Yay, look at that. It has all the properties. It's this menu that, Okay, so it all the MLS did come out, and it's great because we had a glitch, but now it's save and continue. Oh, it does ask for a client's name right here, right away. And look, it pops up. And then save and continue. And it's very simple. Like it has this, right? And it has the CMA. It has, I mean, all the properties that you looked at. And then you can also add a slide again. Like if this is your first time meeting them, you could again go into add slide and do the value of the agent too. Okay. But if you've already done that, you don't have to do it, right? And then you go into the properties. And here's the property slide, okay? And they can see it's linked up to an IDX for all the MLSs, okay? And they have all the properties they saw, like, oh yeah, I saw that. And then they go back, because sometimes you go and look and you don't realize, okay? And then it has all the photos and all the information from the listing. The cool part of the tour part is that they can, okay, they can rate it. Okay, so these are the homes that you saw and they can rate it, right? So again, the same thing, present and share. And then your client is already added, right? And you can email them. And then subject line, just say home tours. No. And for me, it's almost like I'm documenting myself that I showed these to say, hey, we saw these, we saw these homes. You can rate them if you like, if you like, but wanted to, send these to you, right? So again, you are differentiating yourself with this tool that is like awesome, right? Let me just show you what it looks like. So this is the home tours. This is what it looks like, right? And then they view the presentation and it looks like this. They made it for me. Oh, okay. And it kind of, you saw the presentation. I add a couple of more slides on there, okay? And then here's all the information, all the homes that I showed that day. And here's the part where you can rate it. They can rate it. See, considering, okay, or not interested. We saw this, it wasn't great. Or like, I loved it, make an offer. So when you get that, we're like, oh my God, I gotta contact them. We're gonna make an offer, get that, contract ready, right? So what a great tool to use, right? When you are sending them and it's extra work. It is extra work, but again, you are making yourself a little bit different than the rest of the agents.
Mary,
so
does the do the comps update on this, or this is just like a one-time presentation that goes out to the buyer?
it does, it goes out to them as long as you didn't delete it. I believe it's kind of real time and it whatever they see, the MLS, if it goes under contract, it'll probably reflect that it went under contract.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, so win the offer is the last one. And so this one is very much like the listing presentation. And I want to go over how tricky this is because I have an address. So this is one of the homes that we saw, okay, on that tour. Don't spell out like drive the whole thing. Just do avenue or drive, DR or PL, okay? And then it doesn't populate, so don't worry. So you just keep writing it and then it comes up. And then you have to click on that. Okay, so just make sure you're not writing out avenue or, you know, and just don't worry if the town doesn't come, do the comma and then do the town, okay? Anyway, so you go next, you do the bedroom count. So it was 4 bedroom, and then it was like 3, I think, and then you do next. All right. Again, key point here is that you have to click on nothing came up, right? What happened to the comms? You have to make sure you click on include listings that don't have square footage because MLS doesn't require square footage to be on there. So a lot of agents don't put it. It's a liability, right? So, and I also like to do this right here, Leonia. I would like to bind it right there. And it's a lot. It's 21 matches, and I'm probably gonna have to go in and, but I love all the listings are popping up, the glitch is fixed, you guys, and then you go build the CMA. And from there, you can actually start, you know, looking at each one and making sure you have the right comps because you can't just do this and give them everything, right? You want to make sure this home is very similar to, you know, what you're doing. And right here, it'll say this is what we're looking at. And it'll say one of them is very close to, I think my thing is it's so big that it's not showing up, but it did say like one of them was the closest one. And if you go into the comparable, you see the ones that, you know, are here that are active. I may not put so many in there, like this 650. I'm gonna like delete it, right? It's not part of, I don't think I want to put that on there. Okay, delete the property. So you still have to go in, you know, and see like, oh, was this the right comp? And you can look at it here and you can see, it was like, oh no, this is way too high. Or this, I think, was the one that was the most closest, right? And you say, oh, okay, you know, you could like it, I think. I'm not sure exactly what that does, but, and you can actually give your clients a range too by saying, I think your offer, I would give it a range because you don't want to be like, you know, so. And you don't have to do this. And if you add that, your face goes here, right? And they say, this is what we recommend, right? Isn't this awesome? And then so you go into the presentation and it's like really the same setup where you pick the client and you can, you know, why I'm the right fit. And you may get rid of some things, right? You can add, you know, a slide or not what my home is worth. Like you can get rid of some of this stuff, right? And then you present and share. And it's really the same thing. And again, I know when someone's opened it and they viewed it, it'll say view presentation. I have one of my agents that use it and I look at it, I'm like, oh, she used it, right? Because why wouldn't you? These are tools that we're giving to you and it's setting you apart from the rest of the people that are not going to do the work. Why not do the work and really, you know, get their trust? I know it was a lot, but really, if you keep doing them, because there's 3 different kinds, play around with them, it'll become easier. Because as I'm doing these like masterminds and like getting on there, I'm like, it becomes a lot more easier for you. So the point is to practice it, use it, meet with your client, establish yourself, and you know, work on setting expectation. Hey, this is what happens when we get into a contract, and go over that, you know, home buying process, right? And say, this is what we're going to have to negotiate. There's going to be, you know, inspections. And when we get into those, that's your chance to really set the expectation. They're not shocked and they're not, you know, nervous or skittish because you already laid it out for them.
Mary, I have a question.
Yeah.
Is when you're doing it, let's say you have one buyer and then you have the next buyer. Does that save the template and then all you have to do is change the addresses, or do you have to go through the whole thing again and enter everything, all your, you know, all your information again over?
Well, it depends on like the 3 different, you know, presentation. The first one was, there was not even a CMA. You just put the person's name and you just add the slides, bop, 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 and then you send it out. So you do have to create it, but it's very simple.
Gotcha.
Or the home tour is going to be different each time, right? Because the MLS is different. Whatever you're showing, the homes that you tour is not going to be the same one, you
Mhm.
know? So you do have to create it.
Mhm.
Now, for the last one, if you're doing a CMA, so they're ready to make the offer and you're giving them some CMA, you could, if it's the same property, you can use it and just change the person. You can go back there and edit it, okay?
Gotcha.
And then change the person if it's the
Gotcha.
same property that you're
Mhm.
doing the CMA for,
Mhm.
right? But usually it ends up being different.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Ma-
So yeah, they
Mary, I
can
have
go
a,
back.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Let's say you get a Bold Trail lead
Yep.
and you're just being introduced to them and they tell you what they want to see. Where
Mhm.
in the process do you start showing them this presentation?
I usually, when you get a Bolter lead, that means that basically there has been a lot of nurturing from Bold Trail. I don't know if you guys know what nurturing leads are. And actually, there are, platforms out there that that people have to pay for to nurture leads. So when they come in as a lead, they also are sending them properties. They're, sending them some kind of campaign. So if they've gotten a lot of those things and depending on how serious they are, if I'm taking them out and everybody works a little bit different. Some people like to be like, you're gonna meet with me. I don't want to be, I don't want to waste time with this person. I want to establish, hey, this is what I'm getting paid. I'm signing the buyer's agreement. I'm doing the presentation right off the bat. I think a little bit more wishy-washy. So I always like to meet the person first. And then and I see how serious they are, I always do the CIS and I talk about, the buyer's agreement, but I also want to connect with that person and I want to have a little bond because right off the bat, they may not want to sit down and meet with you, right? But after that, then I'm gonna be like, I'd really would like to, back in the day when we didn't have these, presentation, I would just like, hey, I'd like to meet you at I'll buy you some coffee, would go at a cafe and we'll talk about it. And I would bring blank like contracts and things like that and kind of would explain the process. But you don't have to really do that anymore because we have these presentations. So it really depends on how ready you think these people, are how serious they are as like being your buyer, like being a client. And
Well, I
this
feel that very often they'd have the attitude of just show me the property. This is what I'm calling you about.
Yeah. Okay. So, and then just do that. And I always try to set the expectation and just say like, okay, I'm showing you the property and I'm, doing the buyer's agreement for this property or whatever you do. And just say, after like one or two, I would be like, I really need for, you to sit with me. I'd like to explain it to you because it's gonna be a better process if you understand. You do always have those people where I know everything.
Right.
Then just mail it. Just say, I'm gonna actually have a presentation. I'm gonna send it to you. Take a look at it and if you have any questions. And that way you actually cover the compensation slide, the home buying process slide. And then they are going to be like, oh, she sent me something. And they could ignore it. I mean, leads do that all the time, right? But at least you're doing something. So if they are giving you a lot of pushback, eventually we want to be at a place where you have that conversation, but that's the great thing. Like you can email it to them and let's see if they opened it.
Thank you,
Hi.
Mary.
Hi, Mary. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that with us. It's a
Mhm.
great idea. I have created similar to it in the meantime as buyer seminars. Do you think
Great.
it's a good idea that actually of the open house, when they come and see the home, you can send them the link, said, okay, here is actually what you should know about buying the homes step by step. What do you think?
My opinion is I would use the open house app that we have. I don't know if I
Yeah.
went over it. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And then once you do that, when it comes from your open house app and it links straight to your CRM, it actually automatically sends an open house campaign. And I don't know if any of you guys used it. It's like awesome, the campaign. It's like, hey, you want it really helps them to click on it because it will ask things like, oh, there's actually deals out there. Do you want me to send you some deals? I mean, I'm adding the expression, but when I'm reading the text, I'm like, deals. I wouldn't, there's like, oh, there's deals out there. And then they say like, yes, or they think that I have some secret stash like listings. But when they say yes, they actually go on some kind of campaign, then they get listings. So, and that kind of gets set up for them, right? So that's what I would do. And like you said, if you are thinking that you're going to show something and then I would start getting that presentation ready. That you might need to nurture that lead before you actually have that. But I actually have had Zillow leads that I wasn't getting anything. I would put them into my CRM and I just sent them the first one. That was the easiest. I put their name on there. Buyer says, here, things that you need to know, and I just would send it.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, you guys, you could always reach out to your managers or myself, and if you have any questions, but really homework doesn't matter how many training we do, if you don't use it and practice it, it's really, it's gonna fly away, the knowledge. So make sure you're using it and, and practicing. And if you have any questions, let me know.
Thank you, Mary.